The Byzantine Empire. Hello guys, my name is Ranesh and here I got Balaj, and today we're going to be making a presentation on the Byzantine Empire. Let's get right into it. We're going to be talking about everything we know about it, when were they around, what were they based on, and a lot more. So let's just get right into it. When were they around? And what were they based on? And why did it come to an end?
So the Roman Empire was around shortly after the Roman Empire's fall. The Byzantine Empire came up, and it was the eastern side of Europe. It lasted for thousands of years, even after the collapse of the western side. It was separated shortly after those events into four different feudal systems, feudal kingdoms, and fell to the Ottoman Empire. Moving on to Rayan's son.
It was separated into four different feudal kingdoms and fell to the Ottoman Empire in 1453, made shortly before the rise of the Christians and the Holy Empire. They followed as their heritage, calling themselves Romimile or Romans. The term East Rome was made after the fall of the Roman Empire in 476 and continued until the 6th century. Because of the same profound cumulative effect of the market and trade in the country, researchers derive to the term Byzantine to be the medieval empire. The empire refers to be the Greek to be to the Greek foundation, which was in between the Mediterranean and Black Sea. The empire was a natural foundation between Europe and Anatolia, Asia Minor. It was refounded as the new Rome by the Emperor Constantine in 330. The city was named Constantinople. Passing on to Balaj.
So the end of the Byzantine Empire came with their tightly indulged relations with the barbarians. Constantine the First told them that they would render loyalty to the royals and would accept baptism in order for the Byzantine Empire to be saved. Their geographical position served them until the 10th century, but later, because of economic reasons, the Byzantine Empire had to fall.
What would it have been like to live there?
So, what would it be like to live there?
Life in the Byzantine Empire was more like working all day. People would have to get money for their food and other home resources. They would basically have to earn everything, and earning was mostly it. Children were meant to work with their parents almost all the time because parents would have a really hard duty. There were many responsibilities that were supposed to be done. For example, saving up, and then people had to have enough money for extra stuff, and shopping and other entertainment were at the festivals that took place at that time. So festivals that took place at that time were basically allowing people to go and buy things cheaper, because those festivals were hosted like around once or twice a year. People would barely get a chance to buy their clothes. The father used to go to work with their son, and the daughter would remain home. Now, passing on to Balaj.
There were two types of citizens: the honestiors, which are the privileged, and the humiliors, which are the humble. The honestiors were the people who were like rich, and the legal punishments wouldn't be um, they wouldn't be casted on them, and instead would be very lenient on their behalf. So, in crimes, one's nose could be cut off for crimes such as adultery and the rape of a nun. For crimes like murder and treason, the death penalty came into play. Below them were slaves who were bought from markets and warfare. Life expectancy in the country was very low. anyone getting the past of the age of 40 would be considered above average. So, wars happened once every generation, but diseases came by very often, and proper medicines weren't provided for them. So boys were taught to read and write in Greek, and then schooled in the seven classical arts of antiquity: grammar, rhetoric, logic, arithmetic, geometry, harmonics, and astronomy.
What were some of their achievements? What were some of the achievements by the Byzantine Empire?
So they were known for recovering Rome's legacy and modern drawing of a counterweight trebuchet being prepared for shooting. Byzantine ship employing Greek fire in the late 11th century, clay grenades. You shouldn't have.
Okay, continue.
Okay, clay grenades that were filled with Greek fire in between 10th to 12th centuries. Hand siphon, which was one of the weapons, it was like a portable flamethrower. They perfected the Greek fire and made synchronized clocks for all these innovative achievements. The Byzantines used a system of beacons to transmit messages from the border with the caliphate across Asia to Constantinople during the 9th century. So, I think this is the same exact thing.
What was it like to be a woman?
Passing on to Ryan, what was it like to be a woman?
A woman living in the age of Byzantine spent the greater part of their life in her home. For instance, in Kivavanam's Strategicon, keep your daughters as prisoners, confined and inconspicuous. They could only go outside for things such as church, attending festivals, or going to relations. It was not seen as a good image for a woman to sit with a man at a table unless they were closely related. Reading and writing were limited and they started to learn housework from very young ages. A girl could get married at the young ages of 12 or 13, with the parents choosing the husband and giving fees worth as much of a dowry. They would not be related irregularly or mistreated because of the Christian principles, but they would still have to carry the burden of kids as mistresses. Those who belonged to the poor levels of society labored in the fields or were employed in their family workshops. A few educated women were doctors who attended the female population. Queenies or prostitutes lived the cabarets and wine shops. Thank you for watching our presentation.